The silent distress. The research vessel Harmony's Edge drifted through the outer rim of the Kepler expanse, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant nebulous purple and gold hues. Inside the observation deck, Commander Silvara stood perfectly still, her elongated fingers pressed against the transparent viewing panel. The Valerian's large, pearl-like eyes blinked slowly as she studied the readings on her holographic display. Her species had evolved on Velara Prime, a world where gravity was so gentle that falling was nearly impossible, and where the atmosphere was so thick and supportive that their bodies had never needed to develop dense bones or strong muscles. Silvara's second officer, a young Valerian named Corin, floated gracefully across the deck, using the ship's minimal artificial gravity. His silver-blue skin shimmered under the soft bioluminescent lighting that his species preferred. He carried a data tablet that hovered beside him, its screen displaying information that made his large eyes widen with concern. "Commander, we have detected something unusual ahead. The gravitational readings are becoming increasingly unstable, and there appears to be a massive structure caught in a decaying orbit around the black hole designated as Void's Heart." Silvara turned her attention to the main view screen, and what she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Tumbling slowly through space, pulled inexorably toward the black hole's event horizon, was an enormous space station. The structure was ancient, its design unlike anything in the current galactic database. Massive sections of the station were torn and twisted, but the core appeared intact. Dim lights flickered across its surface, suggesting that some systems still functioned despite the obvious damage. This was the kind of discovery that could rewrite history. But it was also a death trap waiting to claim anyone foolish enough to approach it. "Scan for life signs," Silvara ordered, her melodic voice carrying the weight of command despite its softness. Corin's fingers danced across his console, and within moments the results appeared. "Commander, I am detecting faint biosignatures. Multiple species, possibly in stasis or emergency hibernation. They are located in the station's central core, but the readings are weak and fading." Silvara felt her twin hearts beat faster. There were survivors aboard that doomed station, beings who had perhaps been trapped there for cycles or even longer. The Valerian way was one of compassion and preservation of life. They could not simply abandon those souls to the crushing gravity and eventual destruction that awaited them. She made her decision quickly. "Prepare rescue team. We will attempt to board the station and extract any survivors." Corin's expression showed both admiration and fear. "Commander, with respect, the gravitational forces near that structure are already at 2.3 times Valerian standard. Our people cannot physically function in such conditions. Our bones would fracture under the stress, and our muscles would tear from simple movements." Silvara knew he was right, but she also knew they had to try. "We will use our remote drones and gravitational dampening fields. We must at least attempt a rescue before the station crosses the point of no return." The next 3 hours were spent in careful preparation. The Valerian rescue team assembled their most advanced equipment, deploying gravitational dampening drones that would theoretically create pockets of reduced gravity around them. They suited up in their emergency response gear, which looked more like flowing robes made of advanced materials than the bulky protective suits used by other species. Each suit was equipped with medical scanners, communication devices, and anti-gravity generators that could, theoretically, protect the wearer from gravitational forces up to 3 times Valerian normal. Rescue shuttle detached from Harmony's Edge and made its careful approach to the derelict station. Silvara led the team herself, accompanied by Corin and 2 other specialists named Visha and Navin. As they drew closer, the true scale of the disaster became apparent. The station had clearly been involved in some catastrophic event. Hull breaches were everywhere, and entire sections had been torn away by forces that must have been unimaginable. The closer they got, the more the shuttle's systems strained. Against the increasing gravitational pull from the nearby black hole dot, we are approaching the docking port now, announced their pilot through the communication channel. Be advised that gravitational forces at your entry point are reading at 2.8 times Valerian standard. Your dampening fields will need to operate at maximum capacity. Silvara acknowledged the warning and led her team through the airlock. The moment they crossed into the station, they felt the difference despite their protective equipment. What should have been an effortless glide became a struggle against an invisible force that wanted to pull them down. Their graceful movements became awkward stumbles, and within moments, Vesha cried out in pain as the enhanced gravity strained her delicate bone structure. "Commander, we cannot proceed," Mavin said, his voice tight with pain and fear. "The dampening fields are insufficient. The gravity is too strong for our bodies to withstand. Even with all our technology, we are simply too fragile for this environment." Silvara tried to take another step forward and felt something crack in her leg. Bright pain shot through her body, and she had to grip a nearby wall support to keep from collapsing. She looked down the dark corridor ahead, knowing that somewhere in the depths of this dying station, beings were waiting for rescue that the Valerians simply could not provide. Her people's greatest strength was their advanced technology and peaceful nature. But their greatest weakness was their physical fragility. "Fall back to the shuttle," she ordered reluctantly, the words bitter in her mouth. "We cannot help them like this." The team retreated, each movement causing additional strain and minor injuries. Once back aboard their shuttle, Silvara made the hardest decision of her command. Corin, broadcast an emergency distress signal on all frequencies. Include our situation and specify the exact gravitational conditions. Perhaps someone in the galaxy has the physical capability to attempt this rescue where we cannot. We are Valerians, and we do not abandon life. But we must acknowledge our limitations and seek help from those better suited to this challenge. The distress signal shot out across space, carrying with it detailed information about the trapped survivors, the hostile environment, and the rapidly diminishing time window before the station would be lost forever. The message was desperate, honest, and humbling. It admitted that the Valerians, for all their advanced technology and noble intentions, were simply not built for the brutal realities of high-gravity rescue operations. They needed help from someone tougher, someone stronger, someone who came from a world that had forged them into something more resilient. 3-star systems away, that distress call was picked up by a human salvage and rescue vessel called the Iron Will. Captain Marcus Chun sat in his command chair, reviewing inventory reports when his communication officer interrupted with urgent news. "Captain, we have received a priority distress signal from a Valerian research vessel. They have located survivors on a derelict station, but they cannot complete the rescue due to gravitational conditions exceeding their species' physical tolerances." Chun leaned forward, his weathered face showing immediate interest. "What are the gravity readings they are reporting?" 2.8 times Valerian standard at the entry point, possibly higher in the interior sections, the communication officer replied. Chun did the quick mental calculation and allowed himself a slight smile. That translated to roughly 0.5 to 0.7 Earth standard gravity, well within human operational parameters. His crew had trained for rescue operations in conditions far more extreme than that. They had pulled miners from collapsed shafts on high-gravity worlds and rescued colonists from ships caught in stellar gravity wells. This was exactly the kind of situation where humanity's origins on Earth, a relatively heavy-gravity world, gave them an advantage that no amount of advanced alien technology could replicate. "Plot a course to their coordinates," Chun ordered, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who knew exactly what his crew could do. "Maximum speed. Wake up the rescue team and tell them to prep for high-gravity operations. Send a response to the Valerians. Tell them that the Iron Will is responding to their call, and that we specialize in exactly this type of situation. And make sure they know that where they see impossible conditions, we see just another day's work." The message was sent, and the Iron Will's powerful engines roared to life, pushing the vessel toward its destination at speeds that would have frightened the more cautious Valerians. Aboard Harmony's Edge, Silvara received the response and felt a complex mixture of relief and trepidation. The humans were coming. She had heard stories about them, of course. Everyone in the galaxy had heard about the species from Earth, the heavy worlders who seemed impossibly strong and resilient compared to most other spacefaring races. They were known for taking risks that other species considered suicidal, for thriving in environments that would kill most other beings, and for their stubborn refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. Some species called them Deathworlders with a mixture of respect and fear. Others simply called them crazy. Corin floated over to stand beside his commander, looking at the confirmation message on the display. "Do you really think they can succeed where we failed, Commander?" "Commander?" Silvara watched the distant stars and thought about the survivors trapped in that doomed station, their time running out with every passing moment. The humans come from a world with gravity more than twice what we consider normal. They have evolved to be strong in ways we can barely comprehend. If anyone in this galaxy can walk through those corridors and carry out survivors where we could not even stand, it would be them. She paused, then added softly, "We are about to witness what it means to be born on a death world. We are about to see why the rest of the galaxy both fears and needs humanity. The Iron Will would arrive in less than 6 hours." The countdown had begun, and for the first time since discovering the derelict station, Silvara allowed herself to hope. Help was coming, and it was coming in the form of beings who had been forged in Earth's crushing gravity into something the gentler species of the galaxy could never be. The Deathworlders were answering the call, and the universe was about to be reminded why humanity had earned its reputation as the galaxy's most formidable rescue specialists. Asterisk into the abyss. Iron Will emerged from its faster-than-light jump with the kind of precision that spoke of years of experience navigating dangerous space. Captain Marcus Chun stood on the bridge, his stocky frame planted firmly as he studied the tactical display showing both the Valerian research vessel and the massive derelict station slowly spiraling toward its doom. The black hole designated as Void's Heart dominated the view screen, its presence warping the very light around it into an impossible ring of fire. Chun had seen many dangerous situations in his 20 years of salvage and rescue work, but this one ranked among the most challenging. His first officer, Lieutenant Sarah Okonkwo, moved to stand beside him. Her tall, muscular build was typical of those who had grown up on Earth or one of the other heavy gravity colonies. She carried herself with the easy confidence of someone who knew exactly what her body could do and had never met a physical challenge she could not overcome. "Captain, the Valerian vessel is hailing us. They want to brief us on the situation and offer whatever technical support they can provide." Chun nodded and activated the communication channel. "This is Captain Chun of the Iron Will. We are ready to receive your briefing and coordinate our rescue operation." Silvara's image appeared on the view screen, and Chun could immediately see the strain in her large eyes. The Valerian commander looked exhausted, and he noticed the medical support brace on her leg. "Captain Chun, I am Commander Silvara. Thank you for responding to our distress call. I must warn you that the conditions aboard that station are extremely dangerous. The gravitational forces alone prevented my team from proceeding more than 50 meters into the structure, and we suffered injuries just from that brief exposure." Chun listened carefully as Silvara provided detailed information about the station's layout, the location of the survivors, and the rapidly deteriorating orbit. The station had perhaps 12 hours before it crossed the event horizon threshold, after which no rescue would be possible. Commander Silvara. Chun said when she finished, "I appreciate the warning, but I want you to understand something about humans. The gravity levels you are describing are actually lower than what we experience every day on Earth. What injured your team would feel like a light workout to mine. We have trained for rescue operations in conditions twice as severe as what you encountered. We will bring those survivors out." Silvara's expression showed both hope and disbelief, as if she could not quite comprehend beings who could casually operate in conditions that had defeated her people so completely. Chun turned to his crew and began issuing orders with practiced efficiency. Rescue Team Alpha, suit up for high-gravity operations. Dr. Rahman, prepare the medical bay for multiple unknown species. Engineering, I want our docking clamps reinforced and our engines ready for a hard burn away from that black hole the moment we have everyone aboard. He looked at the chronometer on his display. We have 12 hours, but I want to be done in 6. Let's move. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as every crew member moved to their stations with purpose and determination in the equipment bay. The rescue team assembled their gear. Team leader Jackson Torres checked his suit's integrity, while his teammates Maria Volkov, David Kim, and Amara Aze did the same. Their rescue suits were vastly different from the elegant Valerian equipment. These were heavy, reinforced, and built to withstand punishment that would destroy most alien technology. Each suit included enhanced strength servos, not because the humans needed help lifting in low gravity, but because they might encounter situations requiring even more strength than their Earth-evolved muscles could provide naturally. Torres addressed his team with the calm demeanor of someone who had led dozens of successful rescue operations. Listen up. We are going into an unstable structure with high gravity, unknown hazards, and a ticking clock. Standard rescue protocol applies. We go in as a team, we stay together, and we do not leave anyone behind. That includes the aliens we are rescuing and each other. Clear? The team responded with affirmative acknowledgments, and within 20 minutes, they were boarding the Iron Will's heavy rescue shuttle. Unlike the graceful Valerian craft, this shuttle was built like a flying tank, with reinforced hull plating and powerful engines, capable of fighting against extreme gravitational forces. As they approached the derelict station, Torres studied the external damage through the shuttle's cameras. Whatever had happened here had been catastrophic and violent. Entire sections of the station looked like they had been torn apart by massive forces, and the whole structure groaned and shifted as the black hole's gravity pulled at it relentlessly. The shuttle docked with a solid clang that resonated through the hull. Torres was the first through the airlock, his boots making solid contact with the station's deck plating. He immediately felt the increased gravity, but to him, it felt like walking around with a moderately heavy backpack rather than the crushing force that had injured the Valerians. Gravity reading at approximately 0.6 Earth standard. Comfortable enough. Let's proceed. His team followed him through, each of them adjusting naturally to the conditions that would have been impossible for most species in the galaxy. The interior of the station was a nightmare of darkness. Twisted metal and flickering emergency lights that cast strange shadows across the walls. The air was thin and cold, requiring the humans to rely on their suits' life support systems. Torres activated his helmet's enhanced vision mode and began following the path toward the central core where the Valerian scans had detected the survivors. As they moved deeper into the station, the gravity increased steadily. The deck beneath their feet was littered with debris, and they had to climb over or move aside wreckage that blocked their path. Maria Volkov, the team's engineer, examined a collapsed structural support that blocked a doorway. This is going to require some force to move. The metal is fused from whatever event damaged this place. Torres and Kim moved to help her, and together they gripped the twisted metal beam. On Earth, it would have weighed close to 300 kilograms. Here, with the increased gravity, it was closer to 500. The three humans strained for a moment, their muscles working against the mass, and then the beam groaned and shifted. They pushed it aside with a crash that echoed through the empty corridors. Aboard Harmony's Edge, the Valerian crew watched through the humans' helmet cameras in amazement. Corin stared at the screen, showing three humans moving what would have required heavy machinery for his people. "Commander, they just moved that obstruction as if it were nothing." "How is that possible?" Silvara watched with her own sense of wonder growing. "They are not exaggerating about their world, Corin. Earth truly is a death world, and these humans are the product of millions of years of evolution in conditions we can barely survive, even with our best technology. We are witnessing what it means to be forged by a harsh world into something incredibly strong." Asterisk. The rescue team continued deeper into the station, and the environmental conditions grew progressively worse. The gravity increased to 0.8 Earth standard, then 0.9. Temperature fluctuations ranged from freezing to uncomfortably warm within the span of a few meters. Radiation levels spiked in certain areas, forcing the team to take alternate routes. Yet through it all, the humans pressed forward with determination that seemed almost supernatural to anyone watching. They climbed vertical shafts using only their strength when the ladders had been destroyed. They squeezed through gaps that had been crushed nearly closed by the station's structural damage. They pushed, pulled, lifted, and forced their way through obstacles that would have stopped any other species. Asterisk. Finally, after nearly 2 hours of steady progress, Torres raised his hand to halt the team. "I am picking up life signs ahead. Multiple signatures, different biological patterns. This must be the central core." The team entered a large chamber that had clearly once been some kind of hibernation facility. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls, most of them dark and lifeless, but several still glowed with the dim light of emergency power. Through the transparent panels, Torres could see the occupants, beings from species he recognized, and some he did not. There was a Valerian scientist, a pair of insectoid creatures he thought might be KZZZT explorers, something that looked like a floating jellyfish in a containment field, and several others whose species he could not immediately identify. Amara Oze, the team's medical specialist, began scanning the pods immediately. "They are all alive, but their stasis systems are failing. We need to extract them now and get them to proper medical facilities. The pods are designed for their respective species, so we will need to be very careful during transport." Torres assessed the situation quickly. The pods were built into the walls and floor with heavy mounting brackets. Under normal circumstances, they would require specialized equipment to remove safely. But these were not normal circumstances, and the humans did not have time for delicate procedures. Kim, Volkov, help me with these mounting brackets. Essay, prepare the emergency transport containers. We are going to have to do this the hard way. The three humans set to work on the first pod, using cutting tools to sever the mounting brackets, and then their own strength to carefully lift the entire pod free from its housing. The pod, with its occupant, weighed nearly 400 kilograms in the station's gravity. The humans lifted it with visible effort, but without excessive strain, carrying it like a heavy piece of furniture rather than the impossible burden it would have been for most species. They worked with remarkable efficiency, removing each pod and placing it into a specialized transport container that Ose had prepared. Each container had its own power supply and would maintain the stasis field during transport back to the shuttle. As they worked, the station groaned and shuddered around them. Torres checked his chronometer and saw that they had been inside for 3 hours. They were making good time, but the station's orbit was decaying faster than the original projections. Captain, this is Torres. We have located all survivors and are preparing for extraction. Be advised that we have 8 stasis pods to transport. We will need multiple trips or additional personnel. Chun's voice came back immediately. Negative on multiple trips, Torres. The station's orbit is deteriorating rapidly. You need to get everyone out in one trip. Can you manage all 8 pods? Torres looked at the pods, did a quick mental calculation, and made his decision. Affirmative, Captain. We will carry them all. It will be heavy, but we can do it. His team did not question the order or express doubt. They simply began organizing the transport containers into a configuration that would allow them to carry everything. Each human would be responsible for 2 pods, which meant carrying approximately 800 kilograms each in the station's .9. Earth gravity. The journey back to the shuttle was a testament to human endurance and determination. Each member of the rescue team carried their assigned burden, moving through the damaged station with careful steps but steady progress. Their breathing was heavy, their muscles strained, and sweat poured down their faces inside their helmets. But they did not stop or slow down. They had trained for this. Earth's gravity had prepared them for this. Every day of their lives spent moving under their home world's heavy pull had built the strength and endurance they needed for this exact moment. When they encountered obstacles on the return journey, they adapted without hesitation. When a corridor was too narrow for the transport containers, they tilted them and squeezed through sideways. When a ladder was too damaged to climb while carrying the pods, Kim and Torres used their suit's grappling cables to create a makeshift pulley system that allowed them to haul the pods up one at a time, while Volkov and Osei guided them from below. Every problem was met with practical solutions delivered with the kind of stubborn resourcefulness that was distinctly human. Aboard Harmony's Edge, Silvara watched the humans' progress with emotions that ranged from awe to something approaching disbelief. They are carrying loads that would require our heaviest cargo handling equipment, and they are doing it while climbing through a damaged structure in high gravity. Corin, I am beginning to understand why the galaxy fears them. They do not give up. They do not accept limitations. They simply do what needs to be done, regardless of how impossible it seems. Corin nodded slowly, watching Torres lift the transport container over a gap in the floor that would have been impossible for any Valerian to cross, even without carrying anything. Rescue team finally reached their shuttle, with all 8 survivors secured. As they loaded the transport containers into the shuttle's cargo bay, the station gave a massive shudder. Warning alarms blared as the structure's orbit began its final decay. Torres sealed the cargo bay and moved to the cockpit. All survivors secured. Get us out of here. The shuttle's engines roared to life, pulling away from the doomed station with powerful thrust. They cleared the docking clamps just as a section of the station tore completely away, tumbling into the black hole's gravitational well. The iron will was waiting for them, its own engines already building power for their escape. The shuttle docked smoothly, and within minutes, the transport containers were being transferred to the medical bay, where Dr. Rahman and her team were ready to receive the survivors. Chun watched from the bridge as the chronometer showed they had completed the rescue with nearly 4 hours to spare. He activated the ship-wide communication system. Attention all hands. This is the captain. Rescue operation successful. All survivors recovered and en route to medical. Prepare for departure from the Void's heart system. Navigation. Plot our course back to the nearest station with advanced medical facilities. As the iron Will's engines pushed them away from the black hole at maximum acceleration. Chun opened a channel to Harmony's Edge. Commander Silvara. All survivors are secure and receiving medical attention. We are departing the area now. You might want to follow us out, unless you have some reason to stick around this cheerful neighborhood. Silvara's response carried profound gratitude in her melodic voice. Captain Shun, you and your crew have accomplished what we thought was impossible. You walked into conditions that injured my people and carried out survivors like it was routine. I do not know how to properly thank you. Shun smiled, his weathered face showing genuine warmth. Commander, you already did thank us by calling for help. That is what we do. Humans have always been the ones who run toward danger instead of away from it. Maybe it is because Earth taught us that we can handle more than we think we can. Or maybe it is just stubbornness. Either way, those survivors are alive because you found them and because you were smart enough to know when you needed help. That takes wisdom and humility. Torres and his team reported to the bridge, still in their suits, exhausted but satisfied. Chun looked at them with pride. Good work, people. Take your time getting cleaned up. You have earned some rest. As his crew dispersed, Chun looked out at the stars and thought about the nature of strength dot in the medical bay. The stasis pods were being carefully opened one by one. The survivors would wake slowly, their bodies and minds needing time to adjust after their long hibernation. They would wake to find themselves aboard a human vessel, rescued by beings from a death world who had walked through conditions that would have killed most species. They would learn that when all hope seemed lost, when the gentle and advanced species of the galaxy had tried and failed, it was the Death Worlders who had answered the call. It was the humans who had proven once again that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from advanced technology or elegant evolution, but from being born on a world harsh enough to forge you into something unbreakable. Weeks later, when all the survivors had recovered and the story of the rescue had spread across the galaxy, something changed in how other species viewed humanity. Yes, they were still Death Worlders. Yes, they were still considered dangerous and reckless by some standards. But they were also the ones you called when everything else had failed. They were the ones who could walk into hell and carry out angels. And in a galaxy full of advanced civilizations and sophisticated species, that made humanity not just respected, but essential. The Death Worlders had answered the call, and in doing so, they had saved not just lives, but had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be strong. Asterisk.